Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh. Okay. Hello. We're gonna have a little ambiance music while we, while we sit here together and enjoy this beautiful Saturday for those of you who are in the US. It's been kind of a trying week for me. Not trying week, actually. Just a trying, last 24 hours. Yesterday, we lost water. There was a water main break, and we haven't had water, and it's it'll be 36 hours, I think, we haven't had water. But you know what? There's no elevator music. My water didn't break, okay? 17 years ago it did. Funny story while we're talking about this. Can you hear the music, by the way? Can you chill this? Are you chilling? Are you vibing? We're vibing a little bit. Is it uber low? Okay. I don't want it too loud because I don't want it overpowering. How's this? Can you hear it now? How about now? How is it now? I turned it up a smidge. This is Stream Beats. Harris Heller. I'll tell you what. Harris Heller is the bomb. If you ever want royalty-free music, if you ever want to know what cameras are good, what microphones are good, he's amazing. His YouTube channel, he's got two. He's got Harris Heller, and then he has Senpai Gaming. Excellent stuff. He recently actually was talking about the changes that Twitch was making, and he was harassed by somebody who worked for Twitch, through his whole stream, and he couldn't even ban him. It was so messed up. But yeah, highly recommend Harris Heller. As a matter of fact, I do have exclamation Harris Heller. Because he's got he's got links all over of just really helpful information, stuff that I wish I had access to when I first started streaming. So I like to put it out there because he is just a tremendous resource, and he's been around for a really long time. He's been a creator, Twitch, YouTube. He does a lot of music. I think he does a lot of videography stuff. He's been in the biz for a really long time, and I really trust his judgment on things. He doesn't know me from Adam, but I highly recommend him. Anywho, so I was gonna say you were talking about water breaking. I was actually at work when my water broke. And I was being made fun of because I'm sitting there just typing my orders, and I work with my brother, and I was like, oh, I said to my brother, I'm like, hey Tim, I think my water broke, and he's like, oh my god, we gotta leave now. I was like, no, hold on, I just have a couple more things to do. So I'm sitting there at my desk. Water wasn't that bad, okay? It wasn't as bad as people make it out to be at the moment, okay? And then I ended up we had commuted together that day, so I had to drive him to where my dad worked to switch cars, and then I had to go drive to the doctor's office. And before I went into the hospital, I made a pit stop at McDonald's. What you're not supposed to do, you're not supposed to eat, drink, nothing, and you're especially not supposed to have McDonald's. But I had a McDonald's, the 2 cheeseburger meal, and a Diet Coke and French fries. And I walked into the hospital, and I had the bag because I had some fries left. Because if you do not eat before you get in there, you're eating ice chips. For real. You're literally eating ice chips. That's it. Okay. That's it. That's all they give you. Ice chips. So I ate my McDonald's. I walked in there that's not your bag, is it? I was like, oh, no. It's not mine. It was. It doesn't matter. Anyway, had to have a C-section, but that's besides the point. My kid was 9 pounds. She's a big kid. She didn't want to come out, but I ate McDonald's, so she's a McDonald's baby. She was a baby Big Mac. Anyway, it's funny because my dad always says, oh, you gave birth to a mini butterball. Anyway, boy, I got stories. But anyways, thank you for being here. This is the Culture of Gaming. So at the Culture of Gaming, we like to talk about the gaming culture, obviously, but we like to talk about, you know, how gaming has evolved, and we'd like to hear people's stories. What I also love to share is if I know that there's like a special like event or awareness that we should be talking about or we should bring to light. I like to talk about those. I'm very passionate about charities. Many of you may already know I do have a charity gaming community called Greater Good Gaming. We focus on gaming mostly for Extra Life, and we do other fundraisers aside of that, even in real life, doing walks and such. Like there's a lot that we do. And so what we'd like to impress upon this virtual world is that gaming is not the negative stigma that people used to think it was, like back in the day, where people, you know, would say, oh, you're just nothing but degenerates sitting in the basement and doing nothing. And we are here to tell you, I am here to tell you, that gaming can be very meaningful and very impactful. There's gamers all over that are gaming for charities, for causes, things that they're personally passionate about. And one of those things, by the way, it is July 1st, which is the start of Disability Awareness Month. Well, I'm sorry, it is not Disability Awareness Month. I had to like get that out of my brain because I kept thinking that. It's Disability Pride Month. I did not know it was a thing at all. I literally Googled what are some of awareness days that are going on in July. And this popped up and I said, oh my gosh, like I wonder how many people don't actually know about it. And, you know, I almost feel like we're going to talk about this term too. This ableist mentality, right? Is if it doesn't really, if it doesn't impact us personally, sometimes we don't. And maybe, and you know what? And it's not because we don't care or anything. We just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So, you know, I love that I just said that. A lot of, I feel like if we bring to light certain things, we can grow and learn a lot. There are some people that are very much against it. I am not one of those people. I've always been very curious. It's gotten me into trouble sometimes in a good way, but I tend to go down rabbit holes. I love researching things. I love finding out meanings to things. That is super important to me. And that's a big reason why I started like a charity gaming team. And I also started this little vodcast going on here. Because I think that there's a lot that we can still share and learn from one another. And for those of us who are very into that, welcome. You are in the right place. My goal is to bring you information that you may not know about, bring awareness to things that you may have never heard of, and then we start a dialogue and we start to make positive, impactful change. That is what we are here to do. So, educate you. I love a knowledge nugget. They're delicious. So let's talk about disability awareness. I'm just going to turn this music down a smidge also, by the way, because it's very like vibey. I'm loving it. I don't have this playlist saved. I'm going to save it for anybody that's interested. This is called Gold. The album is Gold and it's Stream Beats by Harris Heller. I highly recommend. 10 out of 10. I think I'm just going to pause the music completely. All right. So let's talk, Disability Pride Month. I want to say Disability Month. Disability Pride Month. There's a lot. Okay. So here's what I've learned. A few things. We're gonna go over the origin of it. Okay. We're gonna learn together. There is also exclamation Disability Pride, and there's this really great site that I found, and it's called goodgoodgood.co, and I'll tell you, they do show everything that is good. And I actually found out about Disability Pride Month just because I found it on the site. And so I was reading a little bit about it. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. So just bear with me really quickly. I was testing layouts, by the way. So this is like super simple, right? But I just like to mess with like some things, and what I would like to try to do more on this particular stream is to bring in, you know, logos and of things that are like, you know, if we're focusing on a stream of one particular topic, I'd love to bring light to it. So, by the way, is this like 4th of July weekend, and our neighbors are like popping off, literally popping off with fireworks. So if you hear anything like that, it's our neighbors. They're fireworks all over the place. I mean, I guess some people don't care if they don't have water. They're just going to live their best life. Do you know what I'm saying? Actually, do you know what? So we have a local park actually near us. And they usually do a really huge 4th of July fireworks event. And I don't think that's happening tonight because of all the stuff. Like half of our town has no water, half of it does. And the neighboring towns do, some don't. It's crazy. But I'm pretty sure like there's another park down the road. Do you hear it? I don't know if you hear it or not, but it's, you know. What's happening here? Why is my window not even showing? Gracious me, oh my. Okay. You've been yeah, it's like crazy. You know, it's funny, like up until a few years ago, fireworks were not allowed. They were just not allowed here, and then all of a sudden they made it legalized over here. Not that it was illegal, but like only in a contained area. But now everybody and their mother is like launching off. I miss the music, to be honest with you. Maybe I should have some playing in the background. Now it's just like launching off, man. And I'll tell you what's really scary is like, you know, people that have pets. It's so scary. And around our area, we have tons of deer, you know, chipmunks, squirrels, like there's foxes, like there's so much wildlife, and it's gotta be so scary for them just because, you know, as usual, we're just like selfish humans, just taking up the space and ruining it for everybody, you know? Okay. So here we go. I got these dumbass ads though. Go away. I don't know how to make it go. Leave. Go away. Why this ad, Google? Because it's annoying. That's why. Okay. So let's start with a little overview on Disability Awareness Month. For the past, okay, so we'll just read through this. I love this. And by the way, you know, some people are gonna have certain feelings about this, but I just found out like literally today that Disability Pride Month has its own flag or its own logo. So I am displaying it on my stream. And they're not just like cool ass colors and a cool ziggy zaggy design. It actually is meaningful. So I want to read a little bit. I did a lot of Googling. Google is your best friend, by the way. But like this, I don't think that's the site that I wanted to read. Can I maybe get my act together? Oh, that's my bot. Don't look at that, please. I'm really distracted by these fireworks. Maybe I should like do the stream another day. It's so obnoxious. Okay, it's really obnoxious. Okay, so, ew, that looks ugly. Okay, so the symbolism behind the Disability Pride Month flag. The black field, okay, like the all black color here, is for those who've suffered and died from ableist violence and also rebellion. That is loaded. I need to do a little research on that because that's like craziness. There's so many things that I feel like as a person who I guess I would consider myself an able-bodied person, right? Of pretty decent, you know, sound mind. I do have panic disorder, right? Like very mild panic disorder. It gets better and better. You know, we all get anxiety. I don't care what anybody says. And that can be very disabling sometimes. Let's be honest. But let's talk more about this flag here. The zigzag band is how disabled people must move around and past barriers and our creativity in doing so. That's very cool, actually. So like I've seen flags like this. This is the flag right here. Bam. I'm learning so much here. Okay, so the 5 colors also are very meaningful. Okay, so the 5 colors, the variety of disability, our needs and experiences. So mental illness. Well, hold on. Okay, so green is sensory. Okay. Sensory disabilities. Red is physical disabilities. white is invisible or undiagnosed. I'm sure there's a ton of us out there, right? Yellow is neurodiversity, and blue is mental illness. So I thought this was all really interesting. And yes, I do have a little orange in my hand because this is what I was snacking on. There's a story behind this too. All right, so the parallel stripes mean solidarity within the disability community despite our differences. So look at that. We got a flag. And, you know, people call it a flag, but it's more like a logo. Like, everybody has their own logo or brand, if we think about it, right? Like, a lot of groups. Because, you know what? We want to be seen. We want something that represents us as a whole. And that is why we have these things. Because I can just hear it now that people will be like, oh, man, like, everyone has a flag. You know why? Because representation, and I say this all the time, representation matters. Okay? And this is why things like this exist. All right. So let's go back to 12 ways to celebrate Disability Pride Month. And then we're going to do a little bit of the history too. And, you know, whatever. We're just going to read together, okay, as friends. Let's do this. Because this is chock full of information and knowledge, by the way. So is this related to LGBTQ plus community or just those with disabilities? So this is separate. However, they can coexist together. So you can be someone that's a member of the Pride community and also part of it. There is a lot of correlation between one another because some would say that it could be considered a disability. You know, there's a lot of parallels. And they may talk about this in here. So for the past 33 years, July has been an important month for the disability community. The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed on July 26, 1990. So this is relatively new. You know, the 90s will always be new to me, just saying. I always feel like the 90s were yesterday, all right? That's the Gen Xer in me, what can I say? But this is really important. The American with Disabilities Act was passed July 26th. So that year, Boston became the first, you know, Boston is like the foundation for all these movements and evolutionary things. Can I just say, like, I equate so much traditional, like, I don't know. I feel like it's the epicenter of things that, you know, a place where shit happens, like good shit, like they make good things happen, right? So that year, Boston became the first city to celebrate Disability Pride Day with a parade. I love Boston. You know, I'll tell you, I love Boston. Since then, cities across the country have followed suit with marches, pageants, and parades. Additionally, in 2015, Mayor Bill de Blasio, which is New York, officially declared July as Disability Pride Month in New York City. We love us some New York. And that's like a melting pot of all things, all people, all cultures, all, you know, all walks of life. New York is, and let me tell you something. I was there on Wednesday, yes. A lot of people, lots of things, and it was just I loved being where I was. I did not like the act of getting there because getting to the city where I'm from is pretty painful. All right, so disability, and this is really important because I think a lot of people just think of disabilities as, oh, you have a physical disability, or, you know, maybe you have like Down syndrome, or maybe you're in a wheelchair, or maybe you have cerebral palsy, or they think of things just, you know, they just keep it into one little silo, right? So disability is a spectrum encompassing a vast uniqueness of illnesses. And honestly, I don't like that they're called illnesses because I feel like there's that undertone of, oh, that person has an illness. You know what I mean? I don't know how I feel about that word, but we can get as creative as we want. Okay. However, it is important to recognize that contrary to the societal norm, disability should not be seen as an existing without. So I think what they're trying to say here is like, it just means they're just not able. They're without ability to do certain things. Because that's not completely true. It may be in some cases. I hate that these ads are public. Just go away, please. Please, Google, make these go away because Twitch is going to get mad at me and ban me. All right. And so the person that writes this is a female, and they are personally, I don't want to say affected, but they have a disability. So they're speaking very much from the heart. And this is why I really love this site too, because they just really get into like the knowledge nuggets as we talked about. So this woman is saying, as a proud disabled woman, I'm reminded every day of the unique qualities that my cerebral palsy has allowed me to gain. I'm empathetic, resilient, and skillfully adaptable. Just like, you know, people say, oh God, that person has autism, they immediately think that there's something bad about it, right? And autistic people are some of the most highly intelligent and emotional individuals. And this world would probably be a much worse place than it is without people with autism. Some brilliant people. I mean, people have to stop looking at disabilities as a negative or bad thing. Okay, it is what you make of it. And I don't know that I don't know that I feel like, you know, I almost said like a member of the club, but I'll tell you, when I was when I started having panic attacks, I never fully recognized that some of the things that were happening to me, like I'm a nail biter, I'm a chronic nail biter, okay? Like that's a reaction to stress. And other things that I would do would be like a reaction to stress. And I didn't equate it or acknowledge in my brain. I never thought, you know, and I think this goes back to like, you know, when you're a certain age too, like, you know, Gen Xers too, like we weren't taught to like be allowed, like we weren't allowed to like admit that there was something wrong with us. Like we just had to like, you know, fucking like wipe off, like, you know, wipe the dirt off and then keep on going. Like that's just the way it was. So the fact that I was able to acknowledge as a 47-year-old woman that I had anxiety, I finally was like, wow, I finally feel like I'm part of the cool kids club. I literally felt that way. I was like, wow, I feel so understood. And the more I read about it and the more I connected with people who experienced the same things, I felt like I was part of something. I was like, oh my God, like I'm not like alone in feeling this way. Like a lot of people go through this. And that's why it's really important to acknowledge, you know, things like this, like disability pride, like Pride Disability Month, you know, like we don't have to be scared. We don't have to feel alone. Somewhere, somehow we're going to be able to connect with people. And that's why I always like to talk about the importance of sharing our stories. And I don't mean we have to tell our life story to everybody, right? I'm not meaning you have to talk about the day you were born all the way until today, but like sometimes, you know, we go through like emotional, you know, bouts or whatever. It doesn't always have to be emotional, but it always feels good to be able to talk about it with somebody. You know what I mean? Like it always feels good to be able to talk to somebody about it. And then before you know it, you're having this conversation and the other person on the other side totally understands where you're coming from. And that is the most beautiful sigh of relief feeling. It really is, because when you feel like there's other people who just like get it, you're less alone, and all of a sudden you feel like you can tackle anything, right? You know, seriously, it also helps mentally to know we're not, yeah, exactly, like exactly, it's so important. So I love reading this. The skillfully adaptable piece is just music to my ears. And I have some personal stories that I'll share about it too. A common misconception about, oh, you're going to like this one, Blev. A common misconception about Disability Pride Month is that it's trying to steal the spotlight from LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Disability and queerness are not mutually exclusive. The reality of disability is that we live in an infinite amount of intersecting identities. This is so important. I love the wording of this. To celebrate disability is to celebrate queerness and vice versa. Okay, so you were talking about like what are the parallels between them and if they have something in common or is one like the other, and here you go. Like I love how this is worded. It's so perfect. Disability Pride Month is a chance for the community I call home to show you all our beauty. It is also a time for all disabled people to unapologetically celebrate our bodies as they are. Whether you are disabled or an ally, Disability Pride Month is full of so much to celebrate. Oh, I love this. Sorry if I keep hitting my desk. This arm thing is very loud and I apologize. So let's go into this. How do we celebrate it? There's so many ways. Okay. I love this. Learn about ableism. This is so important. This is so important. Because, you know, I never really heard the term like ableist until like my Gen Z. Can I just say we can learn so much from Gen Z? Like they're so brilliant. They are so brilliant. Because they're born open. Like they're just sponges. They are born with this empathy gene that I think was lost on so many of us, right? They're so just articulate and so just so smart, and they just grasp emotions, and they're so accepting. I think Gen Z is such an amazing generation. And also, let's recognize that us Gen Xers are the ones that are like totally giving birth to the Gen Zers, just saying. You're welcome. But like Gen Z, I love Gen Z so much. And I talk about this too, like part of ageism is another thing that I talk about a lot also in my streams and on the Culture of Gaming. And it's something that as a person who is, getting closer to 50, you start to feel left out of things. Like in my brain, in my mind, I'm still in my 20s, okay? Like I'm still with it. My body might be bumped and bruised and maybe I have some other ailments going on, but like it's all there, okay? And that's why my daughter and I are such best friends. Like you got Gen X and Gen Z. It's not just because she's my daughter, but she's like a funny, brilliant, amazing person, and just we get along so well, and we have so much in common. And I really feel like at the core of all of it, if our generations can just learn to be more accepting of one another, God, we can make beautiful things happen. It doesn't have to be, oh, okay, boomer. And I get that like half the time it's a joke, but really there's so much happening here. Like gaming is more acceptable now. And like Gen X used to have to hide, like, we'd have to hide we're playing a video game. Like we'd have to hide from the world. Okay. We were like the freaking trolls under the bridge. We were doing all of these things and we were getting ridiculed for it. And finally it's acceptable. And I think that's a big reason why, like, Gen X, like, we can impart this into the world. Like, we love our Gen Zers, okay? There's, like, this fusion of love, okay? And I think, millennials have that too. And I really just feel like if we can, like, have more of an understanding for one another, things would just be better, like, overall. Because ageism sucks. People getting aged for being too young. Oh, you don't know anything, right? And then the people who are too older, you don't belong in anything. So it's kind of like, what the fuck? Like, what do we do? Like, we have to come together at some point, right? So anyways, let's get back to disability pride, because, a lot of that kind of dovetails into this too. So learning about ableism. So I like that this person said, let's get real. Living as a disabled person is hard. And while I'm not as disabled, like this individual has cerebral palsy, like it can feel like, like there's a barrier up. People don't understand where you're coming from sometimes. So this is important. Not only is there the lived reality of having a chronic illness, but our society has a long way to go when it comes to dismantling the negative connotations around disability. Diversability. Ooh, I never heard that word. Diversability. I never heard diversity as diversability. It's an amazing platform. Oh, it's a platform. Diversability is an amazing platform founded by Tiffany Yu, an activist who became disabled at 9 years old. The company was founded by and for disabled people along with those who support us. This particular blog post of theirs does an amazing job of dissecting the origins of ableism. So we can, we can get into that too. But again, I have the link to this page with all the other extended links. If you do exclamation, disability pride, you'll be able to get there, and then you can read it as well, because I'm sure you don't want to hear me read to you the whole time, but we just want to get through some of these things. Okay, so learn about disability first language. When talking about or describing people in the disability community, you'll often hear two different phrases being used. See, I was reading this yesterday and I was not like comprehending it. So maybe I'll have a better comprehension as we read this together. Disabled people versus people with disability. The interchanging nature of these phrases perpetuates the lack of autonomy disabled people have over how we are represented and seen. Oh, yes, thank you. There you go. I love it. Look, you can get a sandwich. With both being common, it's hard to know which one is most appropriate to use. Many people learn that people first language. Oh, people for putting people as the first word. Now I get people first. People first language, people with disabilities, was most appropriate to use because it centered the person first and foremost. So you're not just like labeled as disabled person. You are a person that has a disability, which means your whole foundational part of who you are is not your disability. It's just a part of what makes you up. Like, you are a person, you are an individual, you have thoughts and feelings and dreams, and you live your life. And then having a disability just kind of comes with the territory. It's kind of like a secondary, and it's not everything that you are. Ha, look at me, I'm so smart. For years, though, the disability community has been pushing for the use of disability first language. The phrase disabled people puts disability at the front and center of who we are and gives us the agency to live authentically with our diagnoses. I can understand that people would want that, right? Because if you put the word disabled in front of it, you're saying, okay, like, we're acknowledging ourselves as a group, as a community of people. And as a whole, we have certain needs that we need met. Okay. So, and it's probably disability specific, but you all have this common ground of, hey, these are the things that we expect. You know, we want to be respected, you know, we want this and that. And, you know, I'm sure there's like this long list. And I think, you know, when you have disabled people, when you put the word disabled in front, you're talking about the community as a whole. There's the individuals, and then there's the community as a whole. And I think that's normal. I'm Sarah Jones, but also I'm a woman, right? So like, if I get together with like all these other women, there's certain things that we have in common that we find like out in the world that like affect us in a negative way that we want to make change to. But as Sarah Jones, the individual, there's other things that, and I fight this, not really fight this sometimes, but I struggle with this because it's like, where do I align my time, right? Like, I'm always going to be a woman unless I want to not be a woman anymore, but I'm not going to ever change that. But you know, I'm a woman, but that's just part of who I am. Like, there's other things that are super, super important to me that, like, yeah, obviously, like, being a woman is important, and I want to, you know, I'm a feminist and I care about the things that happen, but also there's other things, like I'm also a mom, and I'm also, you know, this, you know, there's so many other things. I'm so many things. Oh, it's just so, anyway. So that's what this kind of talks about. And I thought this was really interesting. Because, you know, obviously we're just learning about it. So I love this. So people first versus disability first will continue to be a conversation within the disability community, as we are not a monolith. Yeah, I think that both can exist. I think both can exist. Overall, when in doubt, which language to use, the best rule of thumb is to ask someone how they would like to be referred. Okay. Disability should be your default. Okay. I can understand that when referring to a group. Reading books by disabled. I don't like to read, so I probably will not read. But I think to the point of this article, there is a disabled individual writing this article. Hearing things from a certain person's from their personal perspective is powerful, because you literally get like a bird's eye view into like what it's like to walk in somebody's shoes. I'm not saying everything written by a disabled person is this, you know, autobiography, but you really can learn a lot from a person's perspective. And I just think just life in general, just being open-minded, and hearing people's, you know, points of views and where they're coming from, you know, it took a while for me to do that. Like, I really felt like I was living a sheltered life because I never, like, it's true that they say ignorance is bliss. If you don't get yourself involved in things, like I was never into politics or anything like that. And I would talk to my brother and he would have these deep conversations. I'm like, yeah, like we were talking about white privilege one time. And I was like, what the hell? Like, blah, blah, blah. I learned a lot. I've grown a lot from that. You have to really be open and accepting to like hear things. Just have an understanding. Follow disability activists. All right. We're just going to go through this list. So there's like a link here also to top activists. Watch CODA. I thought this was interesting. So CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adults, right? And I you know, I learned that. So I started words. I started really getting into TikTok right as the pandemic started, okay? Like I remember I made like the dopiest like first TikTok. Oh my god. And then I got so lucky because the side of TikTok that I found were a bunch of like grown adults. Not that kids were bad. There was nothing wrong with that, but I found like a lot of adults who were trying to make change, trying to make positive change, raising money for people and taking care of each other and just doing things to like help the world heal. Another part of what I saw a lot of, which I was blown away in amazement, is there were a lot of ASL people on there. There was a lot of American Sign Language individuals. So there's a woman that I follow, and her name is Shanna Signs. I think she changed her name. It's Shanna Signs. She was one of the first people I started to follow, and she is she can hear, but she teaches American Sign Language. And she actually has deaf students that she teaches all the time. And I was just blown away. And the other thing that blew me away was, you know, in TikTok, there would be trends where people would be like, da-da-da-da-da. Like there was the, da-da-da-da-da. There's this Look At Me Now, that Look At Me Now song. And it's got like Usher, no, not Usher. Not Usher's not in it. Chris Brown, Busta Rhymes, I think like, I forget the other guy. I don't really like him. I think he's Little something. There's a Little something. Little Wayne? Not Little Wayne? Might be Little Wayne. Anyway. So Busta Rhymes does this like, every time I say and I like literally cannot rap that fast, okay? There was this kid who was doing it in sign language. And I was blown away. He was deaf. And he was doing the sign language so fast. It was amazing. And I'm telling you, I was so impressed that there was such a huge community of ASL people. I was blown away. And I always wish I just had the natural talent to learn sign language. And my friend Wicked Khaleesi, who was on my very first person, I almost said very first contestant, my very first interview when Culture of Gaming launched, she learned sign language. Okay, she teaches sign language, she does interpreting, and when she streams, sometimes she teaches people American Sign Language, and I just thought that was the most beautiful thing. But anyway, so Coda, and I kind of want to watch this now. It won an Academy Award for Best Picture, so I think that's really cool. I would be interested in watching that. I think I actually saw commercials for it or something, some ads for it, where it's a girl, she's not hard of hearing, but both of her parents are deaf, and she wants to leave and she wants to move out and do some schooling, but she was also like a big, you know, helper to her parents. So she was like leaving home for the first time, and her mom was like so petrified to have her leave, and her dad was like, you know, whatever. And what's the cool thing is, like, you know, when we watch movies, there's a lot of dialogue, so we watch the dialogue, right? And it was people signing. There wasn't speaking. It was just signing. So it was just so different. It was different and amazing, and I loved it. Anyway, I think that's what this is. So I would totally watch that. Okay. So take action. Call your elected officials about the Air Carrier Access Act. Oh, what's that? In 2021, Senators Baldwin and Langevin introduced the Air Carrier Access Act, which expands the ACAA that prohibits airlines from discriminating against passengers with disabilities. Why would you? I don't get it. According to All Wheels Up, by the way, this is a charity for people with disabilities. The amendment would expand the existing law to include the following, and then it just gives you a list. That is interesting. Okay. The Good team has created a simple guide to help you contact your representatives. I love this site so much. They even give you like the tools to do this. So amazing. Donate to organizations that center disabled people and causes that impact us. So there's Easter Seals is another wonderful charity. Okay, like Easter Seals is amazing. They do a lot with individuals with disabilities. They find job placements for them. They just do so much. And they're one of the people who works in the HR department of my day job. They worked for Easter Seals, so we do a lot with them, and we're probably going to do some more with them. But I love it. As mentioned above, there's not one intersection which disability is not present, whether it's gun violence, reproductive rights, or marriage equality. Disabled folks are fighting for the bare minimum of equality. And this is true. So, you know, you may hear a lot in some corporate organizations like EDI, right? Equity, diversity, inclusion. But what does that actually mean, right? Like, in my company, there's so many men. They're all in leadership positions. And I feel like, and I said this when we launched it, was, you know, are we going to do that corporate thing where we just say, because we feel like we're obligated to talk about equity, diversity, inclusion, or are we going to like walk the walk? Are we going to do that? Because I think a lot of places will just say it because they feel like they're obligated to say it, but then they don't live it. They don't breathe it. It's not like a real thing, right? And if it doesn't come from the top down, fine. Like, the culture of your people is one thing, but like if the leadership does not show it, that's a problem. So this is really great information. So here are some organizations. Now, again, I would highly recommend, I have not personally been able to look into these. I do, however, trust this site. Like I've gotten a lot of information off of them. I know that they do some pretty decent vetting. However, before you go donating or anything like that, I would just highly recommend that you just, you know, find their website. If you follow the link that I gave, do the research on them. As a matter of fact, let's click on this real quick and see where it takes us. Okay, so look at that. It doesn't even go anywhere. That's what I mean. You gotta like be careful. Where is this? Open Doors. It's a nursing home. Open Doors. Let's see. Open Doors charity. Open Doors USA. See, they didn't link it to the right page. I don't know if this is the right thing, so let's not do that. Okay, we're just gonna hit the back button. Okay, great. All wheels up. Okay, so like I said, like you can look through these. So this is interesting. So this is accessible travel. This is a wheelchair dance team. Hello. That's very cool. Rolettes, Los Angeles. Celebrate. Attended Disability Pride Month event. I didn't even know that they had big events. I was trying to Google them before, but here we go. There's all these different events happening. And this is for the month of July, okay? So we got New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Missouri, California, Washington. Celebrate good news from the disability community. What is this? We Are 15. It brings organizations from sport, human rights, policy, communications, business arts, and entertaining. Okay. This is really cool. At work. This is important. Can this thing get off my page? Help ensure that your employer is disability inclusive. So there's no bigger power than the power of your voice. Okay. I always get these like, anyway, we're just, anyway, ignore what I was about to say. Speak up. Don't be scared to speak up for other people. I mean, I know a lot of people might feel uncomfortable. I am not one of those people. I speak up for people all the time. But like I said, like you cannot be a company that's like, yeah, we're going to go out there with, you know, EDI. We call it EDI. It's really DEI. Okay. Like diversity, equity, inclusion. A lot of people don't even know what that means. They think equity is like, oh, you buy stocks. No, dude. It's similar to equality, but different. There's that. Hire disabled people. We had a woman one time in a wheelchair. That was pretty cool. She was really nice. Her name was Robin. I liked her. Black Disabled Creatives is a platform created by disabled model Jill Mercado. Okay. So this, again, this site is really informational. They have a lot of really great ways. Like, I love this. Oh, and here, okay, so I would like to focus on the school thing for like, you know, a little bit. Teach students about disability justice using the CRIP The Crip Camp documentary. I've never heard of this. Nominated for an Academy Award for the Best Documentary Feature, Crip Camp is a film about Camp Jened, which was a summer camp for disabled people. The film chronicles the stories of some of the camp attendees and how the conversation sparked there led to the modern disability justice movement. So again, people using their voices, finding things in common, they create a larger community, and that community, what do? They speak up to make change, positive change, and bring awareness. And that's the biggest thing we can do. A school curriculum created by Dr. Bianca Loriano, blah, 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 guides students in building understanding disability justice. I think that schools need to do more of this. And I get really upset, honestly, because I will tell you, and I talk about this a lot too. I'm very open about it. My daughter's, really open about it now too. My daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy in March of 2021. And we didn't know what that meant at the time. Literally, the doctor was like, okay, and she'll never grow out of it. So just take some medicine and, okay, be on her way. Just, don't swim alone and don't do things alone, basically. So she was scared. She was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me, right? So it took a while for us to both get comfortable with it. I'm still not 100% comfortable, but I realized there was a lot of things that I needed to do, to advocate for her in school, and for her to advocate for herself. Because as we learned about what she was going through with her condition, it negatively affected things. It negatively affected her attendance. It negatively affected her ability to, focus and get a lot of her work done. And, things that could be seen on the outside as, because it's not like she walks around and is having seizures every 2 seconds because she's medicated. So she's looks just like every other kid. So while some teachers would equate that to, oh, this kid's just being lazy and she's not doing her work, it's because she has a medical condition. Causes fogginess, forgetfulness, so many things. So I had to fight tooth and nail with the school to get them to understand what was happening. And so I was introduced to a 504 plan, which it's not like the schools are going to come out and tell you, hey, 504 plan. And I really felt very strongly that students of the school, I knew that there were other students at my daughter's school who had the same thing. Hey, DeFace! I knew that there were other students who had the same condition, okay? A lot of kids that had epilepsy. And there's a little bit of shame. I think it comes with the territory of having a disability or something. There's this shame, and nobody should feel shamed about it. You can't help it, okay? So because the ableists, people who just look at you and they're like, oh, well, you're different than us, so whatever, that's a you problem. We're gonna go about our business and cater to whatever. The school really had to put things in place to really, they started to put seizure action plans together. Okay. They started to really be proactive in gathering information, but they just don't do it out of the kindness of their heart. When I tell you the exhaustion from having to fight with the school and I'm telling you, it was every single day. It was something, the amount of conversations I had to have with her, I almost said the absentee person. What the heck is it? The attendance person. He was such a jerk. He just didn't care. And I could just tell he was already judging. He was just like, oh, this is just a lazy kid making up excuses. It's like, guy, are you kidding me? I had to get letter after letter, documentation. And I'm like, no kid should have to feel this way. She would go into classes and ask if she could go to the nurse, and they'd just be like, ugh. Treat her like just some dumb teenager that was bothersome to them. And so as a result, sadly, I ended up unenrolling her from school before the end of the school year, because it got so bad. She was having a seizure and went over to her teacher who was on the phone. He's like, can't you see I'm on the phone? That's what I'm saying. People have to really have an empathetic gene. It has to be part of them. And so many people lack it. And it's a shame that so many of these kids have to go through school with the amount of anxiety and mental health stigmas that are happening. So many people don't want to take it seriously. And it's upsetting. And it hurts people My daughter felt like she was just was treated so badly in that school, ignored or misunderstood, you know, because some disabilities are not obvious. There was a girl, she used to, like my daughter, I would bring her in late because that was part of the issue that she had. There was another girl who I think she had cerebral palsy. But she would like walk in and she had a physical, like she had a limp. You could see that she was walking. So people obviously are like, oh, they instantly either feel bad or they hold the door and this and that. My daughter has a disability too, but nobody like would hold the door for her or do anything like that. Like, but the school would like treat somebody different than another one, because it wasn't obvious to them. So it's just, when you, especially as somebody who, like, you have to advocate. If you're an ally, you really have to advocate. And as a parent, I have to advocate hard. Like, it's never ending. And the schools are very, like, rigid. And it's not like they can just, you know, say, hey, we're gonna change the rules now. Everything has to go through the law and all of that, and like the Board of Education. And it's like this whole fucking rigmarole just for my kid to exist like another kid. It was really hard. And yeah, and Blev, you're right. So that is a huge problem in today's society. Everything is a bother. They don't know what empathy is. I literally was just having this conversation. Like, I take a lot of like notes on my phone. And I actually want to read. What did I say? I said I want to impress upon everybody the importance of treating people with respect at all times, because not all disabilities can be seen. And if the world just had more empathy, it would just be a better place. And sad to say, I feel like, you know, some of the things and the laws that are put into place, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I feel like people are starting to be okay with like hate rather than kindness and empathy. And I know that sounds, again, like there's my tree hugger in me, right? But I feel like it's a real thing. People need to just treat others with more care, you know, acknowledge that we are different, and there's nothing wrong with that. We can learn a lot from one another, right? So that's like really the big hoo-ha, right? So there were some other things that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, so this is a really great site, goodgoodgood.co. They have fantastic articles. They have a lot, they go into depth. They have, like, you know, this woman who wrote this has cerebral palsy and wrote all this information. It's just really great. Let's see. But I also want to share with you a gaming charity that has popped up on so many of my socials at all times, and I've been so interested in them, and that is Able Gamers. So let's find out more about them. Able Gamers. Here we go. So I love this charity, and I would love for our charity team to be able to work with them. So Able Gamers, let's read their story. And I love their hashtag so everyone can game. Gaming heals. Gaming heals. Okay. So their mission: to create opportunities that enable play in order to combat social isolation, foster inclusive communities, and improve the quality of life for people with disabilities. Wow, imagine that. Gaming can improve the quality of life for people. See, the normies don't want to understand that, right? But I love this because we know this. Like, a lot of us in the chat here, we're gamers, but like, we get it. We understand the importance of community and belonging, and we just talked about it earlier, you know, just not feeling alone. Right? You could share a hobby, share something in common with somebody, and then it can be life-changing. Okay? Boom, you just made a new friend. Why do you think everybody wants to go to BlizzCon this year? Okay? Because, you know, we all want to meet each other and hang out and everything else. And it's another, you know, gamers had this pandemic, like, in the bag, you guys. Like, We knew what was up before all these other people trying to like use Zoom and this and that. Like now everybody knows what Discord is, and we were all using it for like years. Anyway, so this is what impact looks like. Look at this. Getting games into the hands of kids and adults. To allow them to enjoy the things that we do. We may take for granted. Like, look, okay, I have an Xbox controller. This is like a normal Xbox controller. I just turn the button on and this and that. But you know what? I don't have to worry about anything. But what I love is that like Xbox has accessibility actions, right? You can go in there, you can have text to talk. So like instead of having to like read things, maybe people are blind. There's people who are blind who game. Okay? Maybe they're just, I'm telling you, like I'm so not articulate tonight, you guys. Like I'm so sorry. This is not the night to be inarticulate. But look at this. This is like so beautiful. I actually, Walter F, I think, is he on, I think he's in TikTok. All of these people game. Look at this. With your help, we are working every day to make sure people with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else for positive experience through play. With our nearly 2 decades as pioneers in inclusive play, thousands of hours working with people with disabilities, leading developers and engineers, we create opportunities for players to find inclusive places to play and connect with family and friends. There's this TikToker, Rocky. His name is Rocky No Hands, and he's not the only TikToker that has disabilities like this. He literally plays like this with like a mouthpiece. He can't use his hands, so he has to like use his mouth to like move a controller. And he does this, I think, playing World of Warcraft, I think, or was it Diablo? It was one of those. It was a Blizzard game, and I was blown away. I was like, how does somebody do that? There was also this, I can't think of the creator's name, but he was like a caretaker of somebody who was in a wheelchair, but I don't know if he had cerebral palsy, but it was worse. It was like a worse condition. But he was able to help, you know, create different ways for him to be able to communicate with him. And I think it was like using like some kind of tablet of some sort. And I'm just like, it's amazing. Technology is amazing. But like, everybody should be able to game. Everybody should be able to find joy in something. Okay. And that's, I love this. And I've seen these guys, they're very active. They have lots of different campaigns. And I'd love to be able to be part of it. 18 years. Let me ask, have you guys in chat ever heard of Able Gamers? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I feel like I know a lot about like charities and stuff like that. I don't know everything, but I feel like I'm in it enough to like know about it. But like 18 years these guys have been around. Why don't we hear more about them? We need to hear more about them. So I'm going to make it my personal mission to make sure that more people understand about this charity. As a matter of fact, I may even reach out to them and find out what kind of events they're doing and maybe participate in them. So if you are not already a part of our G3 gaming community, now's the time to hop on the bandwagon, and we can all make positive change happen and connect with organizations like Able Gamers to make positive change, make positive impact. There's also, well, let's finish with them. Support our work so we can donate. I want to see actually, oh, so ways to give, donate, fundraise, donate monthly, planned giving, donate your game equipment. This is a big deal. I saw this, and so I was following, and I've talked to my charity team about this. There's a gentleman named Street Taco Eater, and he had started his own foundation. I'm gonna talk to him. I hope that he will join us on Culture of Gaming and tell a little bit more about his story. But there was somebody in his TikTok comments that was talking about being able to donate old gaming parts or old PCs, right? To maybe have them rebuilt and have them repurposed for somebody else or for a charity, or just to donate them somehow to somebody who's needy of it. And so I was like, I don't know if there's like specific organizations that do that. So I said, hey, let's like create a spreadsheet. I don't know if people have parts or pieces or whatever, or they have something to donate. Let's just get a sheet together and like, you know, find people within our own community that might need help, right? Like within our guild or charity gaming, you know, in G3, or, you know, 9292, which is Street Taco Eaters Foundation in honor of his son. But then I saw Able Gamers does this. So it says, were you one of the lucky few that scored console? Want to make So Able Gamers is partnering with assistive technology centers across North America to create labs that allow players with disability to play in school systems to bring gaming to students with disabilities. I think this is wonderful. I honestly think that schools need to evolve their curriculums to include gaming as a big portion of it. Yeah, it's like, oh, do we want our kids? But not all games are like shoot 'em up games. There are educational games out there, and everybody should have access. So let's see. So we can donate our old consoles, clean up the console, gather up all its parts, make sure the power cord and brick are working, gather up any games you want to donate to. Place the device cords in a box, blah, 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 and then mail it to their headquarters, which is in West Virginia. I did not know that. And then they have a peer counseling team that does a factory reset. And then they find it a good home. So I thought this was amazing. And see some of their partners, Boys and Girls Club, love it. Craig, I've never heard of them. Maryland Department of Disabilities, love this. So you could probably sign up. So let's click on this together. So peer counseling. Primary focus of Able Gamers peer counseling program is to engage, understand, and educate people with the knowledge and skills needed to harness gaming for social outcomes, combat social isolation, and join a community of millions of players worldwide. So this sounds very much like our ambassador program of Greater Good Gaming, except we're like not as big as Able Gamers. But it doesn't mean we can't be, or we can partner with them. So this is why the gaming community is so great, is because I think that there's so many probably smaller clusters, right, of groups that care so much and they want to do all these great things, but maybe don't have the money or the resources to do the things that these bigger organizations do. So hey, if you can't make it yourself, then you start to collaborate and connect with other groups like this, and before you know it, you start to like make things happen. I mean, that's what I love about the gaming community, is like we can just connect on the littlest things. All it takes is like a conversation, and like if you don't make the ask, then you'll never get it. So here's something that I just learned recently is like there's this woman who I met in the VFriends community. For those of you who don't know what VFriends is, it started as an NFT project, but it's, you know, so much more. It's like created by Gary Vee. He's from New Jersey. He's a businessman, entrepreneur. A lot of people hate NFTs, so I hate to bring up NFTs. However, his PR person is Maha Abulanine. Sorry, I'm like killing her name. But she, I forget what the heck. Oh, she had said, you know, it's like saying you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know, her point was, if you don't make the ask, you're not going to get anywhere. So make the ask. So you have nothing to lose. You're no worse off now than you were before if you don't at least try or, you know, attempt to make a connection, which for me sometimes with my anxiety, it can be very hard. But, you know, there's people counting on me to do this. I need to do it for myself. So it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, we all just have to try to get comfortable being uncomfortable in order to grow and evolve and to make things happen. And I think that's where, you know, connection and, you know, trying to like make things happen with other groups can be really important and very satisfying. Who knows, right? And it gives an outline of the process, which I love. I love the whole idea of this peer counseling. Getting to know you, crafting a solution, enjoying the game and connecting with people. You like that? I just like sung that. Your 4th grade teacher taught us how to play chess if we were interested. He was one of the most amazing teachers. I love that. I feel like I had a science teacher that did something similar, and he had a huge farm. He actually took us on an impromptu class trip to his farm. It was so cool, Mr. Hosp. I'll never forget him. So they do a lot. They invite the player to lead sessions and share experience. I love this. Able Gamers peer counseling program was designed to explore accessibility barriers to play with the end goal of providing individualized solutions. You know, I think, I think we take things for granted sometimes, right? Something simple that I wanted to share too, along with this peer counseling is, accessibility really, really matters in the littlest things that we may not even recognize, or we may not, the tools that exist that we're not even using. So one of them would be like, a big thing that people are starting to do, thank goodness, is captions, adding captions. There should be the ability to add captions to everything. Okay. It just should be a thing at all times. I've actually started to use, tools like CapCut, okay, to, edit my videos and just automatically assign captions, because it just makes things so much easier. The other thing, you guys, okay, here is something that I think by the end of this stream, I want everybody to start doing this, or trying to at least keep it top of mind. I did a lot of this when I was using Twitter. RIP Twitter, I don't even use it anymore. However, when you post pictures, okay, like Instagram, this is a thing too. People just like post pictures. It's like, oh yeah, pretty picture, but not everybody can see. All right. Contrary to popular belief, not everybody can see, but they also want to have access. So a lot of these social platforms are starting to put accessibility, bells and whistles in place, as they should. But alt text. Have you ever posted something on Twitter and you saw, would you like to add alt text, or it'll pop up? You should always, always, always use alt text. And here's how you want to think about it. Think of it as you're posting a picture. How would you, and you know how we write captions sometimes, right? Sometimes we come up with really silly, fun things just to, get people to read. But like in this alt text, you want to look at the picture and you want to say, okay, if I had to describe this picture to somebody, what would I describe it as? Get as detailed as you possibly can. Like, so much to say, like, hey, like, how about this picture right here is like, oh, this is a picture of a kid with a mask on. It's a white mask. He looks like he's, kind of smiling through his mask. In the back, there's a screen. And this is about the ability Casey patient in the life. And this is Aaron. And then you want to type out Aaron as a peer counselor, blah, blah, blah. So you want to, like, describe as much, like, just imagine you're describing to somebody who's blindfolded or can't smell or hear or whatever. You want to give them, you want to be able to paint the picture for them with your words. So if there's one thing that you can do, just one little thing that you can do to consider people with disabilities, use that alt text. Use that alt text. It is so impactful. It allows other people to enjoy what you're posting out there, that in other days or other worlds they would never know what it is. But use that alt text feature. It's brilliant. Even if you have like if you post something regularly, you have a basic description, copy and paste it into like your notes somewhere, so you can just easily copy and paste it. Some people might think it's an inconvenience, but imagine like people are not able to enjoy your content. So we have to go that extra mile to make sure it's accessible for everybody. Let's see. As a matter of fact, I think you can add closed captions on your streams. I have to look more into that too. So able gamers, we talked about able gamers. Let's see. So, okay, so once again, it's Disability Pride Month, everybody. It's the month of July. It started in 1990 when the American Disabilities Act was founded. Started in Boston, the land of everything, and then made its way as an official observation month in New York by Bill de Blasio. Good job, buddy. Your link is in good.co, so you can learn a little bit more of the information that we went over today. What else? Oh yeah, going back to these guys, check it out, ablegamers.org. I don't think that I actually created a link for them, so I will just copy and paste it. Let me go to their main landing page. I'll just paste it in chat. I will just paste it in chat. Why is it asking me to like accept my own rules to like post something in my own chat, for the love of Pete? Ah, all right. Alrighty. We went through a lot. Let's see what else. What else, you guys? Different charities. Yeah, I really you know, just my experience from having to really educate people in epilepsy and do that extra, go the extra mile to advocate for people was just like, man, you just don't know what people go through, honestly. It's exhausting, and to try to explain it to people who are closed-minded or may not understand, it's like you got to keep pushing, you got to keep pushing, you got to keep fighting, you got to keep talking about it, you got to keep bringing it up, you got to yell it to the mountains, you got to yell it to the mountains until people start to listen. And the more people are open, the more people are willing to talk about it and accept differences. We can just learn so much. I know I keep talking about it, but it's just so important. We still have a long way to go. Such a long way to go. So yeah. That's our chat. Oh wait, this isn't the stream I want to use. I want to use this one. No. Yeah, anyway. I should have made a bigger version with a disability. Shoot. Can I add the same text? I don't think I can. But anyway, yeah. Disability Pride Month. Yeah, I love their... Oh, you know what I wanted to look more into also? Like, what was that? What was the one color? I'll have to find out some more research. If you have not joined our Discord... we do have a G3 charity gaming Discord where I'm also going to post a lot more of this information, and I'm probably going to do a little bit of a deepish dive onto what some of the meanings are to the logo, because I thought that was really interesting. The Disability Pride Month logo, the colors, the green, the blue, the white, the yellow, the red, and then the black background. That was like, I really want to dive into that. What did that mean again? La 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 la. Where am I going with this stupid thing? Blippity bloppity blippity blue. Okay, so the black field, mourning for those who've suffered and died from ableist violence. The heck? There goes my hair. Ableist violence. Like, what? Ableist violence. So I guess what that is people who've literally been like harassed and beat up and maybe lost their lives to people who just refuse to understand who they are. Right? Very similarly to the LGBTQ plus community. Right? Like people, instead of wanting to be open and to learn, they want to be closed off. They want to fear something that they don't know rather than getting educated on it. And for those ignorant minds, they may be violent. They may just refuse to acknowledge that certain people exist. That is really honestly something that scares me very much in the world that we live in today, is how people choose to live in ignorance. Anyways, I hope everybody learned something nice and new. You know, I really enjoy, like I said, like I'll just Google something and then it just like a spark goes off, and then I just can't wait to share things with. I don't think a lot of people, I really feel like, well, if I didn't know about it, not that I'm the all-knowing by any means, but like I get excited to like tell other people about it so we can all learn together, right? I'm just trying to look to see if there's anything else that we want to talk about. Oh, so celebrations in Boston, Chicago. There's a lot. Oh my gosh. New York, England, New Zealand. All right, so all sex, mourning the victims of ableist violence and abuse. Disability, Oh, well, here's interesting about the disability pride flag. Yeah, instead of being part of the solution, they choose to be part of the problem. That's right. A lot of people are just, it's ignorance. It's willful ignorance. Here's an interesting piece about the flag that we saw earlier. The flag was redesigned in 2021 with muted colors and straight stripes in response to feedback from those with visually triggered disabilities. I thought that was interesting because, you know, they talked about the zigzag being meaningful, but it was just recently redesigned the last 2 years ago. So interesting. The new design limits the strobe effect created by the lightning bolt to be more visually safe for those with migraines and visually triggered seizures. By the way, people think that or considered migraines a disability. I just call it, hey, I'm getting a really bad headache. I'm gonna, like, you know, pop 2 Advil and, like, you know, put a heating pad on my head and, like, lay down. Imagine somebody, like, treating you different because you get migraines. Who hasn't had a debilitating migraine, by the way? Terrible. And then this is also saying, and like visually triggered seizures. Like, luckily, my daughter does not get visually triggered seizures. Thank goodness. But there's a lot of people that do. In fact, we had gone to see Melanie Martinez on Wednesday, and some of the lights were very stroby. And I was like, man, like, they really need to put out a notification to say could possibly trigger seizures with some of the lights. I think that that's part of, you know, when we live in an ableist society, people are just like, yeah, man, we got these really cool light effects, not really understanding that there are people that can be negatively affected by that. So we have to do our due diligence and just put the announcement out there so that we can at least acknowledge that these people exist and that this could hurt them. That's like a big part of the thing. I move a lot in this chair. This is like a newish chair and it squeaks so much, and I just don't know if it's because I have a fat ass or what. Anyway. Diagonal band cutting across the walls and barriers that separate disabled people from society. Do you hear my ferret is like scratching? They need to come out. They're way past their time to come out. Yeah, I think that's it. There was something else that I kind of like skimmed across that I thought I wanted to talk about. I really find this interesting. On March 12th, 1990, over 1,000 people marched from the White House to the U.S. Capitol to demand that Congress pass the Americans with Disabilities Act. Upon arrival, 60 activists, including 8-year-old Jennifer Keelan Chaffins, physically demonstrated the inaccessibility of public spaces by getting out of her wheelchairs. For getting out of, it said she, but then it said they. By getting out of their wheelchairs or setting aside their mobility aids and crawling up the Capitol steps, an act of civil disobedience that later became known as the Capitol Crawl. 104 activists were arrested for unlawful demonstration, many of whom were in their wheelchairs. Wow, guys. And that's when, you know, in July 26, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Americans with Disabilities Act into law. Each July, it's celebrated as Disability Pride Month in commemoration of the historic moment. So for anyone who doesn't know either, like, former President George Bush also had put a charity together called Points of Light. And within that, there's a lot of different ways to volunteer and to give back. So look into that. That's another one. I'll post information. I think I posted in our Discord at one point in my Discord. But yeah, like, he was very passionate about making sure, like, you know, people were seen and heard, which, you know, we appreciate. Now let's see, my dog is like, what? She's making noises. I don't know what she's doing. The concept of disability pride was born out of disability rights movement and based on intersectional identity, politics, and social justice. The core concept of disability pride is based on a tenet of reworking the negative narratives and biases that frequently surround the concept of disability. Disability pride is a response and counteraction against ableism and social stigma. The concept has roots in the same social theory that backs LGBTQ pride and Black pride. Disability pride is a movement intended to celebrate the history of disability rights movement and the people with disabilities as positive contributors to society. Of course. It marks a break from traditional concept of disabilities as shameful conditions, which we talked about, which were often hidden from the public spaces and mainstream awareness. Remember, I was saying, like, even like being a person that's, you know, of a certain age, we felt like we have to hide under a bridge like a troll, right? Like, the world is not going to understand, and the world is more open than ever in people talking about their disabilities and conditions. And I just think it's, the more we talk about it, the more it becomes normalized, and then before you know it, there's no stigma, and we can all work together and accept each other's differences and help one another, and, you know, in essence, make this world a stronger, more inclusive place to live, which is what we want. That's all we want. Okay, that is all we want in this life. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you. It's like a shortest stream, but I really just wanted to talk a little bit about this, bring some attention to it, bring some attention to some charities. I'll share a little bit more too. You know, it's early in the month. It's July 1st. We just kicked off Disability Pride Month today. So as I do more research, of course, I'll share, because I love to do that. I love deep diving into rabbit holes and finding out more information and being able to share it with people, because I feel like if I'm like, I get very excited about sharing information, and I feel like, you know, hopefully somebody else, it, like, you know, zaps somebody else and they get really excited and want to talk about it and tell another person. And you know, just, we can all get each other excited about learning new things and you know, sharing it with other people. That's just how I am in every facet of my life. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to the Culture of Gaming. I really, you know, part of me was thinking, do I do a podcast at some point? No. I don't know if I can do that, but there's things I've been thinking about doing. But I would like to have more guests on. So if you are somebody that you just, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be the most interesting person in the world. Your story is important and it should be heard. So if you would love to join me on this, so we could have a little conversation, just talk about life and things, and you know, how you make positive contributions into this world. I think the world deserves to know it. So exclamation TCOG. There is a link. It will take you to a Google form, tell you a little bit, tell me a little bit about you. You just type in some information, and then we schedule a day and time. Then we get together and then we talk. And then we bring more awareness to things that you're passionate about. And that's what it's all about. And we pay it forward to everybody. Okay. The world does need it, dang it. I'm hoping a street taco eater, if you come across a stream, a friend, I really want you on this show so that we can share 9 to 92 with everybody. Everybody needs to hear his message. I've been following this man since Hi-Ho. And if you don't know what Hi-Ho is, it sounds like kind of an odd name for an app, but it's literally launched, like, again, right at the pandemic. It was if like FaceTime and TikTok had like a child together. Right? You know how some people can like respond, and if you do take a little bug just flew by. If you respond to somebody in like TikTok with like a video, that's basically what it was. Somebody would have a topic, they'd make a video, and it'd be like a string of responses, and we just share stuff. I love that app so much. But he had done like a lot of themes around gaming and charity gaming. And at the time he had this huge long beard, and I remember he was going on the road, and I was like, oh man, like finally I get to meet like other gamers who are passionate about charity and things like that, and, you know, making good things happen in the gaming world. And I just you know, I'll have to talk to him a little bit about that, but I just thought that his message and and just the way he came across and just making people feel included, man, I can't wait to have him on here. I really hope that he will. So Street Taco Eater, okay, look him up. He's on TikTok, he's on Instagram. He's got this amazing foundation in honor of his son. Please fantastic, and I hope to have him on. So, Street Taco Eater, join us for TCOG. Yeah. With that, I gotta let my little ferrets out. It's super late. They're getting rambunctious. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. I hope that I was able to share some information for you that you didn't know about, or you know, left you thinking, hey, maybe there's something more I can do to make things better in this world. And you know, we all have very powerful voices. We may not think it, we may not realize that, but we really do. So we just need to use them more. We need to use them for good. You know, just put the good vibes out there. Like Bluff said, the world needs it. The world needs you. So make your voice heard. Let me help you do that. I want to do that. The spotlight's waiting for you. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Love you lots. I'll see you in a couple Fridays. All right. Love you. Have a great day. Be kind. Okay, bye.